Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Challenges stream. Today I'm joined by Fujin again.
Hey, it's me. Hello. Oh,
There is a room invite,
it is.
and we're starting it off with
Mine
Dermon
ruins.
versus NQE7 today. Do you know, by the way,
Fun.
if NQE7 is in any way related to E7 or not?
Um, well, I'm assuming they are. I'm assuming they're one of their like academy clans or something. I'm not sure though.
I'm actually going to have
I
a
haven't
look
really
at the clan
asked. Maybe I should
description.
have asked.
Yeah, these are the kind of things like suddenly I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
Their clan description is, are you in E7? Well, yes, but actually no. But yes, they are. They seem to be affiliated with E7. They're actually, the name stands for not quite E7.
Yeah, exactly. So you're probably right. They're an affiliated clan, probably.
Yeah, probably like many of the sort of like secondary clans that you get, so that you have two teams that can participate in professionals potentially. In this
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's good that clans have these feeders and affiliations. It's not a bad thing.
No.
Not everybody can be in the top pro clan. So if you have like a feeder clan, you still get to have the same sort of name and in branding. You get to work your way up to the main clan. So I always think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I remember that back in my Loka days, we had something similar, and we had sort of like an academy, which eventually became its own clan, Sparta. Um, but it's the kind of thing that
Oh
it,
yeah,
it, it takes a lot of work and organization to keep track of a feeder clan, because you need to basically get to know all the people in it. You need to tune with them, get to see if they're good enough, so to speak. You can't just let it be dependent on stats alone. Feeder clans are a lot
yeah.
of work.
No, I can imagine. I can imagine. And you can't keep your eye off the ball because you've got to feed people through. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I could never be a clan leader.
I love being a clan leader, but I've basically made my clan in a way that it pretty much runs itself. I rarely have to step in and be like typical clan leader. But
Yeah.
it's kind of the same what we were talking about earlier about our own Discord service, the way we run our channel and everything. If the basis is good and like very known, then people will behave accordingly, and anyone that doesn't won't last long.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, being a clan leader would just it's too much hard work.
A minute and a half left before we go into the first match of this upper bracket finals between Durmon and NQE7. We're going to start off on Mayan Ruins. We see mice being taken out here. And I always feel that this is one of the maps where the mouse can really come to fruition. At the same time, they are generally also a giant weakness.
Yeah, I mean, the irony is 9 times out of 10 when you see a mouse on a map like this, you generally get to know what the strat is going to be,
Yeah.
and and the other team can generally try and avoid it and leave those mouses till the end. However, sometimes, just sometimes, plans do strange things with mice,
That's
as we've seen
especially...
in the past.
Yeah. And to be fair, those games are the most fun generally.
Totally agree. With Mayan Ruins, I mean, it's not like they're going to send them to the sea cap. They're far too slow to go anywhere near there, realistically, unless they go through the middle. So they're mainly going to go down that heavy line, close to those buildings and those ruined temples, or up to the A cap. So you generally know where they're going. What does surprise me, however, with NQ E7 is they've got no mediums to get round to that C cap. Now, we have seen E5s going around there before, but it'd be interesting to see what they do.
Yes. And here we go into the very first match. Not quite E7, very similar avatars.
Yes.
I'm just glad they have pronounceable names. Remember the time when actual E7 changed all the names into variations of Maddox?
That was just a nightmare. Yeah, it's Maddox 1, Maddox 2, Maddox 2.
Middix, Maddox, Moddux, Middux, and so on and so forth. It was hilarious, but it was awful. And here we go. We see both clans focusing a little bit on the B and A side, not actually going to C at all.
It surprised me as do have a T22, and that's a bold move by Xiaomi.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to get away with it. No, he does not. I think he's more lucky that he doesn't lose a lot of HP over it. But he might still, with not have PS there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bold move trying to cap B with an E5 that quickly. And
also not using the pillars.
Yeah, totally. And he didn't have the backup when he got in there. Now he's got the backup, but he can't get in there now because he has two IS4s looking at him.
But this is interesting, though, because look at the amount of HP Nadato has already lost. Basically, we have Tank Pro 7 and Xiaomi steadily taking away and not have PS's HP. This is very cheeky. Up to the point that Renka is now moving in.
But he isn't, and that surprises me, why he's going that way, and why he's not trying to take out the E5. Exactly, why go for happy feet, and that's not a good move.
No.
It's not a good move.
And there he goes.
That's why it's not a good move.
Now we have Holy Water that is out of position, having rushed in. We have Mouse pushing Mouse. Hauke now being focused. But the rest of Durmon is now pushing in to get both Xiaomi and Holy Water and Marlin now that he's arrived there.
Xiaomi's lasted a lot longer than he should have.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
Both of them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And it is 5 versus 4. Hauke is almost gone. There he goes. And basically now they're just shooting the crap out of Menko. Marlin is still the preferred target for Durmon. And they don't even care about the base.
I mean, there's 2,000 odd hit points difference now, almost 3. So.
And that's going to go very quickly with this amount of focus fire on the two.
Yeah. Don is out of the game now. But I'm still confused about what Renka was doing. I mean, that was a confusing move.
I think that must have been like a communication error.
It probably was, because I would have expected them to push onto the E5 and certainly not onto the mouse, and certainly not into where the majority of NQE7 super heavies were.
Their NQE7 is using those E5s to the max extent of their abilities, though. With the sandbags, with everything, they're using the true armor. It is very clever gameplay overall. And honestly, it shouldn't really have worked.
It shouldn't have, but poor old Dermate did make a lot of mistakes in that game. And basically NQE7 just capitalized on those mistakes.
Yeah.
And as we keep saying, at this level, you make a mistake and it gets magnified by like 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
You make the same mistake in a public game, it doesn't get so magnified, and 9 times out of 10 you can get away with it. When you're in a tournament at this level, even though this is challengers, not pro, they're still at the same level. It really does get magnified.
Exactly, and now Saya is the last one gone. Can we say sayonara, or is that too bad of a pun?
I don't know, sayonara is probably more apt than Saya-lag at the moment.
Oh, this is promising something if I'm already at this stage of my humor. But that was a pretty quick first game, and it's actually Xiaomi that more or less won NQE7 this match by being that forward and taking such a risky position.
I hope to settle down, to be honest with you. I mean, that was strange gameplay and strat for them. So I hope they settle down and be a bit more composed and not let the situation rush to their heads. I mean, they've been in these high level before. Although on the strength of the last game, you wouldn't have thought it, but they have. So they just need to calm down, settle down, get their groove back a little bit.
Exactly, and just not get baited.
Yeah, basically. And guys, I know it's Asia. Stop focusing the mouse.
Yes, oh my god. I mean, there are a few times when it makes sense, but for me, one of the biggest things that I've learned from the likes of Zerd, for instance, is to go in order of juiciness. The juicier the tank, the more you focus it first.
Absolutely. The idea is to get the tanks out of the game, not to sit around and like picket them.
Exactly. The mouse is not known for its DPM, so even if you leave it alive for last, that just means you generally will have more guns in the game left to shoot it.
Let's be frank. The mobility is absolutely pants on the damn thing. It's not exactly the most mobile of tanks. It's pretty slow. It's pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
It hasn't got the fastest turret turn, and guys, when there's like an E5 stuck in a corner like that, go for the E5.
Exactly. But here we go. Second match on main runes. And now Chiyomi's in a mouse, and I don't think he's going to be doing the same thing. I do love the camo that they're sporting, though. It is pretty. Let's see.
The last game was a bit brawly. Are we going to have a similar results in this game?
I have a feeling that all these games are going to be pretty brawly. Mainly because none of them are really using a med in a med role.
Mm-hmm.
So we mainly see like aggressive gameplay of sorts.
Well, that's true, and this is why I'm a bit confused over why Sire Lag has jumped into a T22, because in fairness, Welty was the last man standing in the last game. He's not been using it as a med.
No, but it could be a similar thing to what we saw in Salvea yesterday. It might be his only T10.
True. It's true, but now he is going to drop into the A cap, so kudos for that.
Yeah, and he might get away with it too, because no one is there to stop him just yet. But there's 3 clan wagons on their way to deal with him.
Maybe he'll cap before he gets in. He should be able to get out of there if he's good. No, he's been trapped.
Not with his tracks.
No, he's in a world of pain. He can't go anywhere now. He's now a one shot.
No one in his team is there to support him, though. Literally no one.
But again, I have to question that strat. When you see the lineup there and you see that the other side have got crown wagons and E5s and mouses, why go to A? Go to C, guys.
Yeah. And now we have 2 mice pushing on 1 mouse. We have Duramon pushing on the other side, but those E5s are not going down easy.
No, the Tank Pro should go down now. There he goes.
There he goes. The one and only is pulling back, but he's basically the sacrificial lamb. The crown wagons are now returning. That mouse is not going to survive for too long, I think.
Huki is going to go down. They need to get rid of the one and only.
Yeah, but they're not.
Well, again, there's no point trying to help the mouse. Leave a couple of tanks there to stop anything coming in. The mouse is dead. Can't do anything about that. A couple of tanks in, get rid of that E5, because the E5 is taking up 2 tanks now.
Yeah, and now
Hopefully
he's gone.
Yeah, Manco has capped C, so good foresight there.
But this is interesting. Did you see what just happened? Marlin was reloading his second shot, but shot before it had reloaded. So basically he's lost a whole shot there. And this game, it's definitely for Duramon. And
it is. They played it. Again, mistakes are being made, but they've been a little bit more cooler and calmer than they did in the first game.
Yeah. Holy Water is about to go down. There he goes. And now it's 5 guns versus 2. And now they're leaving the mouse for last.
A tactic. Still a lot of mistakes on both sides this time. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But not as YOLO-y as the last game. With respect to Dur were a lot more focused. Their focus fire was a lot better. The tank selection, i.e. the calling on the focus fire, was a lot better than what we saw in the last game. And it seems that NQE7, well, they struggled a bit, but they were always going to with 2 super heavies. I mean, they had 2 mouses.
And I think in this case also the fact that they sent 3 Kranwagens to deal with 1 T-22. And that caused Durmon to respond on the other side of the map immediately, knowing that they had a massive gun advantage there. Especially since the 2 mice from NQE7 were dealing together with 1 mouse.
This is the thing, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, the mouse is great, don't get me wrong, it's great, but it's a situational tank. Yes, you get hit points. But as you've seen there, NQE7 have dished out 12,000 damage compared to 19,500. And the reason being is because Dur have better mobility.
Yeah.
They're able to use that mobility. The mouse takes a long time to get to where it needs to be.
Exactly, and if you're using it as a holding position while your team rotates around it, then it's different, but neither team did that.
Absolutely. And then you have the 2 mouses there. I mean, one of the issues that they had, the problem with NQE7 there, they had 2 mouses taking on a single mouse. That's 2 tanks out of 7 that are no longer engaged in the battle, realistically.
Exactly. And then yet the 3 Kranwagens that were sort of out of commission for a while because they chased that 1 tank. And that basically means you're going to lose multiple tanks over it.
And they lost 2 of their better tanks, which is their 2 E5s.
Yeah.
And it's these little nuances in tournaments that sort of make or break a tournament if you're going to win a game or lose a game. And it's only tiny little things like this. It's a game changer fully across the board.
Absolutely. And here we go, 13 seconds before we go into Vineyards. And we see the 140 making an appearance along with the Batchat.
And the 215B.
Yeah.
2 of them as well. So I'm expecting those to hold down in a hold down position using their gun depression, probably where the base is normally in the public games, not the supremacy games, in the encounter games. Again, you just never know. I mean, that would be my looking at it being a haul down tank. And as I say, haul down tanks don't like generally being on the flat.
That is why this map is very interesting. This is one of my more favorite maps, mainly because of all the little hills and dens and everything that you have in the map.
I think Vineyards is a great map. It allows for so many different strats. You can be aggressive, you can be passive-aggressive, and you can be passive.
And you have Manko here, lighting up a bunch of the enemy team, potentially. He gets spotted for this as well, and loses a whole bunch of health very quickly. This did not go as intended for Durmon.
No, and again, I'm surprised the 215Bs are where they are. That's not using the gun depression. That's not using its armor profile. It's up in the open. You can see the T-22 and the Object 140 are able to drop down and protect themselves, which is why they're only losing a little bit of hit points. Don is now, he's in a world of pain, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's not going to live there. No. He might get a shot in.
Now, may do, but he's totally ineffective now as a heavy, to be fair.
There we go. He got set on fire, and that was the end of him. And that's the thing right now. The tanks that we've seen so far, the 215Bs and the Batchats, have not really gone to positions where I think they work. And now you have the Kranwagen gone. They pushed right into the enemy lineup here. And for the life of me, I don't understand why.
Again, I mean, look at not to have PS. I mean, he's in an IS-4. Okay, the IS-4 has only got a very weak bottom plate. Why have the IS-4 there? Take the 215Bs there. They can use their gun depression, they can use their haul down capability, then they can support the Crown Wagon. The 215Bs being in the northern ruins is an actual waste of that time. Look, the Object 140 and the T-22, two mediums are going to basically take out two heavy tanks.
Yeah.
Without losing hardly any of their hit points.
But Durhamon also pushing underneath the bridge is something that I would definitely avoid doing in randoms alone already.
Yeah.
So now we just have a Batchat and a Vickers.
Sorry, I was going to say, pushing onto the bridge is okay if you're going to be aggressive, but you can't do one or two tanks. You've got to send a few down there.
Yeah.
And they're only sent two, a Crown Wagon and an IS-4. Was never going to be highly effective for them.
And now we have a Vickers that's going to be mauled alive. And for some reason he's standing pretty much still. I understand where he is, but that's not going to work for him.
No.
And now he's brawling in the Vickers. I mean, it's not going to make a difference at this stage.
Not at all. I mean, NQE7 have got this. It's as simple as that. I mean, the Batchat's gone. Sire is the last one left.
And I hate saying this, but the gameplay that we saw this match is kind of like hinting at a misunderstanding of the tanks that they're driving.
Well, I mean, this is one of the dangers of training, and it depends on who you're training with. And maybe that meta selection in that strat worked in training a couple of times, and they've tried to refine it, and they thought, yeah, this is great. However, when you get into tournaments, it's a different kettle of fish to training.
Yeah.
Training, it doesn't really matter. If you then try and bring what you've done in training into a tournament, and it's been a bit hit and miss, then it really can hurt. Again, I've got to question, why would you send 215Bs to some of the flattest part of that map?
Yeah.
And then send a tank with marginal gun depression like the IS-4 to the bumpiest part of the map. It just makes no sense.
No. And that's the... sometimes I can look at these but I'm like, wait, what? Huh? And I can't really make sense of it at all. And this was one of those battles. I mean, I don't play tournaments. I only commentate them. And I know better than this.
And this is the thing. I mean, you know, it's not just about playing tournaments. I mean, you know the parameters of the tank. You're a good enough player to know that the 215B has got a rock solid turret. Simple as that. Why stick it in the open on flat ground?
Yeah.
when you can just track it and pen the lower hull.
And as you can see, they've now taken out the 215Bs, which I think is a very, very good call. They've kept the Batchat, which can work wonders if they send it in a different position. But it kind of depends how they work it. I've had one of my best battles ever in the Batchat on this map. And it allowed me to do a whole lot. But that is different from tournaments. And you need to work it in the cheeky positions that a Batchat can work. Sending it out into the ruins basically ruins it.
Well, yeah, it kind of does. And this is the thing with the tournament side. I mean, you're a team. You're not an individual player anymore. And you're sent to positions to take positions to do a role or a job that's effective for that tank. And, you know, what's the purpose of a Batchat? Well, the purpose of the Batchat is, as you saw his Royal Fatness do yesterday, is get to those points, get those spots, or cap that base really quickly, and then get the heck out of there.
And to just be cheeky. Now he has reset base A. And does it again. And does it again. He's lost 2 shots for the 3 shots that he put in. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Don Nikudon is basically pushing in rather aggressively, but gets away with it. Duramon
He's in a
might
good
be onto
position.
something here, for this one, at least.
Exactly. Now Don is in a great position. He's hauled down. He's able to use his gun depression. Renka is being a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, and we have now NQE7 pushing hard on the other side. And at this stage, that means that the rest of Duramon has to push as well, but they're not.
No, they're not. I mean, Sire has taken too long to get over there, which means his gun is not effective at the moment.
Hauke is still holding all the way at the back.
The IS-4 is now gone. QE7 have got control on this at the moment. The tanks are a bit too spread out. I mean, Hauke in the E5 is too far back for an E5.
And he's still not moved.
Don't get me wrong, he can farm, but it's not always about damage in tournaments.
No, you have to be there in order to make it work. This almost seems like a random team that is not on voice together. And I know there are some Asia competitive teams who are literally not on voice together. I don't know if Duramon is one of those.
Possibly. I mean, Don is going to go. Now Huki has moved. He saved all his hit points, but what's he going to do? He's not going to take out all these tanks before he gets wrecked himself.
No. And Seiya is more or less on flat ground, so that's not going to help him either. He's lost quite a bit of HP just pulling out of there. He does take out Glaive, though. But it's not
still
going
4
to be
against 2. Yeah. Exactly. It's just not enough. Now, if they were looking to do the cap game, I understand that. But then why do all the pushes that you're doing? I'm still confused as to why. I mean, Huki, he may have some great damage, don't get me wrong, but you've got a heavy tank for a reason. Sitting your heavy tank at the back, not a good idea in tournaments. You need it in the action. You need to use those hit points. You need to share those hit points, and you need to focus fire. I would have understood if they would have taken the back chat and sat in there after he did all the spots, but they didn't.
Exactly. And this is like... Right now, we're mostly talking about Duramon. NQE7 is capitalizing on these mistakes brilliantly, so massive kudos to them. We're just sort of like flabbergasted at the actions of Duramon here.
And again, I'm not trying to be overly harsh on Dur, but this is the final stage of the Spring Challengers tournament. And what I'm seeing at the moment, with the greatest of respect, is an uncoordinated team that, by looks on it, don't really know where to put their tanks and what to do with them at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
surprising.
weird. It doesn't fit. So now NQE7 is basically up for potential match point. If they win this next one, then they're through to the grand finals tomorrow. And Duramon would have to fight ECG through the lower bracket to have a chance to come back, maybe.
They've got a lot to do. They have got a lot to do if they want to win this in the upper bracket. At the moment, NQE7 will be like, well, if it carries on like this, maybe we can just carry on like this. And
Yeah,
so far,
for
I've
them...
only seen Dur play one good game, and that's the one they won.
Exactly. And I can't fault NQE7 for what they're doing, because they're basically just using what Duramon isn't doing.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. I mean, it could be a case of, as we said before, they may be looking to drop down, but that's a really risky tactic. And if that is the case, then, that's very risky, because whoever wins this battle is pretty safe.
Yeah. And they know they will
Simple
be
as
top
that.
2 regardless of how that top 2 battle will go tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But here we go. Duramon taking 3 E5s, Vickers T22 and double IS4 versus IS4, double Kranenberg and triple E5 and Vickers.
I mean, there's the other side to it. These may be maps that they're not very good in, because certain teams do have maps that are like Achilles' heels. And no matter what strat they come up with, they just can't seem to master it. They seem to get sort of unstuck a little bit. Whereas for a time, for example, Raid had a problem with Winter Malinovka. She couldn't win for love nor money.
Yeah, but they would still do well and they would still focus fire, even if they.
There is that.
It's just the thing is that the choices that Durmon has been making are completely illogical, especially for the tanks that they're driving. So for me, it's not a map thing; it's a tank thing. They're going places and doing things in tanks, and I'm like, why?
Indeed, I mean, so we've got Sire Lag here. He's spotted up, so they're taking they are taking the C cap, which is a good idea. But I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with their E5s.
And Hookie is pretty much all alone. He has a Batchet behind him now. Now the team from Durmon is sort of like getting back together. But he's the weak link right now until the team pulls back together. Durmon does not seem to have sensed this because they haven't rushed him. And now we have a whole pack at the back.
Again, yeah, I don't want to sound harsh on Dirt, but if you've got a Vickers that are doing spots and you spot the team going around the A cap, the E5s need to turn around quickly and get round into position. Especially if you've got an IS4 overlooking the B cap, he is going to get swamped, just like this.
Yeah.
And there he goes.
And then we have not have BS, who is also basically alone. Basically, they're not focus firing Durmon. Basically, Durmon isn't focus firing. There's multiple different little micro battles happening right now. And this too doesn't really make sense. They're letting themselves be pincered. Look at the Kranwagen and the IS-4 just arriving at the back. Going in for those shots. Don Incudon losing a lot of HP very quickly. And there he goes.
They're reacting. It's like they're panic reacting.
Yeah.
They're trying to panic react to a situation that they have caused by themselves, to be perfectly honest with you.
And this is the weirdest thing. So far, all 7 players from NQE7 are still alive. They're not even going for the one-shots, the low HP targets.
No.
It's kind of like people took Durmon away and put like a different team in its place or something. Because this is not making any sense.
No, and this is not the team that we've seen up until this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They look completely uncoordinated. They look completely out of sorts, and they look like, well, what are we doing here? We shouldn't be in here. Is this a quick tour?
Yeah, it just feels like totally. I miss any form of communication and teamwork within Durmon. They have gotten some tanks out of the way. It's definitely still not going to be a win for them.
Exactly. I mean, they're going to win that. Oh, Happy Feet, they're not finishing off the IS4.
No, for the second time in a row, by the way.
The second time, yeah, I know.
But he should still get him eventually. There he goes. And now we just have that Vickers, and they're just going to get base domination here.
Yeah. I mean, Marlin just sit there. Glaive doesn't need to do anything, just stay safe. Same with Happy Feet.
Yeah. And Seiya can't go in cap because that will just give him away and have him in the same spot too long. So there's just no way that he can win this.
What he needs to try and do now is get to a position where he can either farm Glaive or farm Happy Feet. But he's not going to, because now Marlin's going to come up and smack him. Oh, no. He gets away.
Yeah, but it's just basically a stay of execution, this.
Now, because of the points.
Aww. May he rest in peace. Just responding to the chat there. Did you see the chat?
Yeah. Looking at.
But it's too weird.
And not being funny, but you didn't deserve to win. To be fair, and NQE7 did deserve it.
Yeah, that for sure. But it's weird to see a team that has performed up to the level that they've gotten here just seems to have totally lost it.
Completely, yeah, totally. I can't disagree with that philosophy and that theory. It's Surreal.
That's the only way to describe it, really. And let's have a look. When is the... My mouse
And I'm going to go
sometimes
out
jerks on
against
me.
ECG in about 40 minutes.
Oh, God.
That was over quickly. It was over quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah. But the games were fairly quick. They were very chaotic. But we just need to now entertain somehow for 40 minutes. I'm going to put up my replays. Visual is asking, are you not streaming today? But we are streaming the NA Professionals on your channel later today. Or rather for us, early tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's see, what have I got to show you? Oh, I could have this playing. It's just, for me, I understand that teams will always make some mistakes and everything. But I'm genuinely shocked when I don't see any, like, this level gameplay in a tournament battle.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I may be being unduly harsh, but looking at the chats are tending to agree. I mean, the Bare Nose is saying this is the 3 bizarrest games I've ever seen. Tactics-wise, the tactics are terrible. You know, people are scratching their heads in the chat. So we're not being unduly harsh. Even the audience can even see that it's a bit weird.
Yeah. But I'm really curious as to what's going to happen once Durmon faces ECG, because we have seen them play together before, and then it was relatively close, and they were clever and everything.
I mean, Dirt have got to pick their socks up if they want to actually get through. I mean, they've got ECG in the next round. So it's their last chance.
Yeah. And otherwise, they're out. It's all coming to a sort of like conclusion now. But it's just, it's weird. I can't wrap my head around it.
Oh yes, it's strangeness upon strange. I'd understand this if this was the group stage. Don't get me wrong. The group stage, I get it. It's not the group stage. This is the final stage.
Exactly.
They got through the group stage. They've beaten clans to get through the group stage. They got into the top 4, and what we've just seen is not top 4. To be fair,
that's the thing of it. It's just it's very strange. But oh well, let's focus on the next matchup and hope that they find their mojo again, basically.
Yeah, they need to. They need to find that mojo, as you say. They need to get into the groove somehow, somewhere. And maybe you're right. Maybe they just they're not on Discord, or they're not. You know, there's communication issues somewhere. Maybe they've looked at these strats, although I doubt it, in training and thought, yeah, these work. Maybe they're trying something new and they haven't practiced this before, and if that's the case, it's the wrong time to do it. This stage
Definitely.
of the tournament, not the right time to do this.
It's just it's I don't understand, and I don't think I will understand.
Maybe there was a little bit of misunderstanding in some of the calls. Maybe I don't know who their caller is. Maybe the caller's not there. I just don't know.
That could be, yeah. Renka, that decision on May and Runes to go up the ramp, that was definitely a weird one. So it could be.
It's completely bizarre.
No, well. In the meantime, looking at the battle that I had yesterday in the T-34. This is one of the tanks that I'm not even a big fan of, but for some reason it's working for me in ratings right now. And I'm really trying to get to 5k ratings, which is basically why I've been playing ratings, because I hate ratings as a whole. It's just one of the most toxic places in the game.
It is, and it doesn't work as it's meant to. I mean, everybody said they wanted, a lot of the people said they wanted a skill-based MM. So Wargaming gave everybody a skill-based MM, and people are using it as a non-skill-based MM. Because it doesn't
really
affect your stats.
Yeah.
So if you're grinding a tank, I don't want to wreck my stats because I'm grinding a tank. I'll jump into ratings. Doesn't matter because I don't get anything for it. Realistically, I'm not going to get the IS6 Fearless. I'm not going to get the camo. Or I'm not too fussed about the camo. But basically, it's not going to affect my stats. What have I got to lose? Basically, that's what ratings is. When you get past 4,500, it's a bit different. But before you get to 4,500, that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I felt that.
Exactly.
But that is one of the things that I dislike about it as well. The people that go YOLO, that then die, that then cast out the whole team for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And it's just... ratings makes me want to switch my chat off, and at the same time, I'm clan leader, I'm CC, I'm moderator on the big server, I'm streamer and everything. I feel that I can't do that. But ratings really makes me want to.
Yeah, ratings is unfortunately one of the more toxic environments in the game. And which again is surreal because, as I said, people aren't using it. A lot of people aren't using it for what it's designed to do, and then they become toxic because a lot of the toxicity, comes from the fact that people are expecting to be carried.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
Yeah, but it's weird though, because if you're going into a game without the intention of actually playing as you should, why would you even be playing?
Because it doesn't affect your stats. Simple.
Yeah, true.
And
I always feel that it should, though.
I think it should because, because stats are such a big thing, everybody makes a big deal out of win rate and everything. Because it's such a big deal, people are going to grind their tanks and do other things in an environment that stats aren't going to be affected.
Yeah.
The ones that make me laugh is when you go into the other game modes like burning games or uprising, and then the people get toxic there because it's a fun game mode.
Yeah, but that's one of the things we've talked about this on one of your coffee chats at some point. The fact that it's a fun mode doesn't mean you shouldn't take it seriously. You're basically rigging the game for others.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And you should take it seriously, but not to the extent where it starts to be, some of the toxicity I've seen in those game modes is just laughable.
It's just weird. Blitz is a very weird game, and yet we still play it so many years after it was launched.
Yeah, I mean it can be it's a strange community at the best of times. On the one hand, it will absolutely give you utter faith in humanity, and then at other times it will make you question whether humanity should just cease now and stop.
Yes, that is very, very true. No. But yeah, at the end of the day, I do want the IS6 Fearless eventually. So I will continue to play ratings, even if I hate it.
Yeah.
What are they doing over there?
It's the typical, I'm in Dubai, I've got a car, it's hot, the wheels will go squeak.
Oh, well. In the meantime, we still have half an hour to go before we get the next matches.
Netforce, I'm not having a dig at the audience. I'm saying that we can't be that wrong because even the audience is saying that the tactics being employed by Dirt is a bit weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as commentators and streamers, you know, we don't have all the answers, and we do see things differently, and you know, we may be overly critical, and that's the thing. And you know, the thing in those games, like, it's you've got to be careful not to be overly critical. If the audience is saying, "Hang on, guys, I think you're a little bit harsh here," then we are being overly critical. Then the audience is turning around saying, "There are no tactics. These are three of the bizarrest games I've ever seen." Then our so-called harshness in our critique is basically justified.
Very, very true. Exactly that. I still can't wrap my head around it. Like, I'm an analyzing person as a whole, so everything that I get, I see it basically as a puzzle, and I try to unravel it and understand it and everything. Especially
That's a
when
big
something
puzzle, though.
happens that I don't get. And in this case, I really don't get it.
Yeah, that's a big puzzle to try and unravel at the moment. But I'm going to see what's happening in the Pro Tour. We should have a result, I would have thought.
Yeah, I've just started a replay. I'll check in a little bit.
Oh,
Tell me.
E7. E7 beating ID 4-1.
Oof.
Means E7 are through
Yeah.
the grand final, and it's now a battle between Feast and ID.
So basically, whatever happens between ID and Feast, you will have a very epic stream on your channel tomorrow with the grand finals for the pros.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, ID is going to be the ideal Feast, and well done E7.
Yeah.
It is well done to them.
I think
Good
this is
to see
also
they
where
made a comeback.
this is also where Maddox comes into play, I think.
Mm.
I'm definitely not crediting everything to Maddox, but he is basically a well-known name in the Asia server tours for a reason.
Totally. And it's not, you know, he's got vast amounts of experience as well. That is going to be an interesting matchup. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And of course, what we've got is either Dur or ECG joining NQE7 in the Challengers final tomorrow.
And that is what I will be streaming. Oh, but it should be fun regardless. I mean, I'm happy that Challengers are also getting more exposure, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been one of those mixed bags. I mean, I like the Challengers Tour. I started my streaming career on the Challengers Tour.
You did.
And, you know, I mean, okay, a lot of people, there's a lot of focus on the Pro Tour, obviously, because it's the top. But Challengers, it's just as good. And it's good to see the clans getting the exposure down there, because they do deserve it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that top 8 is top 8, and they're top 8 for a reason, but that doesn't mean top 8 to 9 to 16 is anyway less OP, especially with the current seeding issue, to be fair. Because there have been some really good teams that have basically been knocked down to challenges because of the seeding abuse from other people.
Exactly. Totally. And yeah, it's glad that the Challengers is getting a bit of attention. I do like that.
Yeah. So I'm honestly hoping that is something that's going to continue over time. In the meantime, just showing some replays on my channel to fill the time.
Yeah, we've still got quite a time to go.
Yeah. And to be fair, this is Jack, Wild One's helper. Generally talks about the teams and tactics and the bot predictions and everything in between. I can't get myself to invest that much. I massively credit him for doing that because he puts in a lot of work. I'm really just here for the games. I don't really look at the teams. If I know a name, then oh yeah, I know that name, but that's about where it ends. And I always feel like a little bit guilty, as if I should invest more. At the same time, even with the way that I do it, it already takes a lot of time and energy to stream these things.
The thing is, I mean, you could invest more, but I mean, the reason I don't do it is because teams change, new players come in, things happen, and I've always said just because you bring 7 pro players together doesn't necessarily make a good team.
Yeah.
In tournaments, they've still got to sort of gel and they've got to get together. And one of the successes that we've seen with Endgame, although they are out at the moment, is that they've played together for a long time. And that's been one of their successes. And we get to see that with the likes of Feast as well. They've been together a long time, those group. And, you know, take Aqua as a prime example. So Aqua came onto the scene for the winter season. They were looking absolutely fantastic. And they come against Endgame and get absolutely annihilated. And they disband and they sort of rebrand as BPS Gravitas. Similar setup. And again, they now Endgame are out. They have got a chance. I'm not saying they don't, because they all have a chance. They've still got the likes of Loka, who've played together for a long time as well. So we have these swings and roundabouts. In stats will only take you so far.
Yeah.
And as we've seen with the predictions that some bots make, stats, whilst they're great, they really get it wrong.
Jack with his everlasting jinxing.
Yeah, because stats is only going on past performance and the stats of the players. It's not going on what's happening on match day. And you only need one of your players to have a bad connection, or you need one of your players to not be in the mood, or a little falling out somewhere, and it alters the entire thing. Take Dur as a prime example. Dur is a prime example.
Very, very
They've been
true.
playing some good stuff up until today, and now they look like they really shouldn't be there. And that is a prime example of how it can change. Now on the stats, you would think, oh, they've got a good chance. Now, if I were to input the stats now, it would be they've got an open house chance. But you don't know what Dur team is going to turn up next. That's the thing.
And I do hope that we will see it better during next round. I mean, I wouldn't wish what we saw last match on anyone.
Oh. This is why I don't try and invest so much time in stats. I'd rather invest more time in doing map overviews and stuff like that. Even though you can't guess what strats and tactics they're going to take, and you certainly can't guess. You can at the moment guess which meta they're going to take, because it's either going to be IS4s, Crown Wagons, E5s, or some form of super heavy and a Vickers. Maybe a D22 for good measure. So you can kind of anticipate which maps are going to have which bits, but you can't anticipate the strats they're going to do. That's the thing.
Yeah. I'll be happy when this whole tour thing is over again. I love it. I love doing it.
I mean, exactly.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing the tours, but it is a lot of hard work.
I am glad to be covering all servers again. Like with winter season, I only did EU really, which was also great. But you kind of feel like you're missing something, because these teams and DNA teams are people you care about. Sounds a bit too mushy, but like you care about them equally. You want them to do just as well. You want to showcase it because they deserve it and everything. And it's difficult because you want to make that happen, but at the same time, it's very difficult to make that happen because we're only human. And we are limited
Totally.
in time and energy and everything.
But this season has been, I mean, it's been a bit better because it's been a bit more condensed, but even then it's still shed a load of effort. And it's not, you know, you have to realise that whilst it's just it seems like you just sat there chatting away, it's not that straightforward. If only it were.
Yeah. But it's good to get to these final stages because even though we don't play, we feel the build up, we feel the tension and everything as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it for the world. I really wouldn't.
I'm not sure, they're talking about 2022 in the chat, but I kind of missed what they were talking about. Oh, Tankfest. Yeah, I'm not going this year either because this is the thing. If Tankfest is actually this year, then it will coincide with Twister season. And then,
yeah, I mean, I was meant to go this year, but I've had to cancel the tickets, mainly because there's still a quarantine in the UK.
yeah.
So, coming from the Middle East, I would have to go into quarantine for 14 days, which, you know, being a British citizen isn't too much of a problem, but it is a problem because then, you know, I've got to anticipate spending a long time in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. And having to go 14 days into quarantine for one weekend somewhere else is just no.
Correct. So,
For me, I own basically Wargaming is nice enough to help cover traveling costs for some of our CCs at times. And for me, that is the only way that I can actually go because it's too expensive for one weekend to just go back and forth. And as much as I like the people and meeting the people, I don't actually care about the tanks. Tanks are cool, but that's not why I'm here, so to speak.
as I was saying to you earlier, I mean, I used to live. I lived in Bovington when I was doing some staff training there because there's a British Army. There's a lot of things in Bovington that belong to the British Army. Like there's a research and development area, which is right at the top, past the tank park, the main tank park for the armoured division.
Mm-hmm.
And there's in the middle between where the tank museum, where the tank museum is. If you go up the hill, before you get to the base at the top of the hill, in the middle, there's actually a staff training college.
Okay.
Where they do a lot of the military, a lot of the in-depth military training for the officers.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, a lot of war games, and so I spent a lot of time in Bovington. I love the place. I love the old area, and obviously, I mean, there's a lot of time not just in the base itself, but out on exercise in the horrible place that they throw the tanks around. It's yeah. There's a lot of history there. Don't forget, you've also got Lawrence of Arabia's house there.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from the area. So.
Oh, that kind of stuff is kind of fun.
Old T.H. Lawrence. He actually got killed just down the road. In his motorbike.
Okay, that is less fun.
Driving along the roads around Bovington. But yeah, he's a local. He used to live there. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot in my heart for Bovington. It's it is a nice place. You've got some lovely areas around there. I mean, there's Swanage. There's not Swanage. There's There's Poole, there's Weymouth. Some really great places to visit.
I've always
It's
when
fun.
I go to Tankfest, I always go to Bournemouth. That is basically sort of my base of operation. I do love that town. It's
Okay.
a very lovely town.
Uh-huh.
City, I should
Well,
say.
just down the coast, you've got Corfe Castle, which is on the coast just down from Bovington. And just round the corner from Corfe Castle, you've got a place called Lulworth Cove. And now Lulworth Cove is an interesting place. For two reasons. One, it's one of the only recognised coral reefs in UK waters.
Okay.
And secondly, it's a tank gunnery range. And when the research division was testing depleted uranium fin rounds, which are like darts, that the Challenger fires, it's like a dart. These things go so quickly, 3 kilometers a second or something. I can't. No, it's not. What is it? 3,000 meters a second or something along those
That
lines.
is a lot.
They had to stop firing them because they were hitting France.
Oof. Not gonna lie, that is
So
pretty
they-
epic.
They had to stop firing these depleted uranium fin rounds at Lulworth Cove eventually because the French were getting very upset. So they had to take all the development over to Germany to the Hohner range, which is a massive tank range in northern Germany between Hamburg and Hanover.
I like this.
And I live there
history
as well.
talk with Fujit. We need to do this more often.
I lived there as well, and that was a cool place, an absolutely amazing place. One day the Americans were on the tank range at Hohner, firing their Abrams tanks. It was what they call a dry range, which means it's got soft targets, not hard targets. Now, soft targets you just make a hole, but hard targets it looks like a firework has gone off.
Oof.
So they're on this soft target range, and a firework goes off. They're like, what? We shouldn't be doing that. And they thought that maybe they'd hit a car because going through the middle of the range is a road that is normally closed when they're shooting. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. It was actually a Tiger II that had sunk in World War II into the marsh.
So they didn't know it was
Over
there.
time. Didn't know it was there. And over time, the marsh had sort of spat it back out again.
That is so cool.
Unbelievable. So they had to go out there, dig the rest of it out, and they brought it to the base, and everybody was like, wow, it's like a Tiger II. What on earth? And most of it was still intact.
That is so cool, though. No, I like games like that. Well, stories like that, basically, with history and everything. Like my father, I mean, it's not tank related. My father used to be captain of a submarine, and he actually has the shell case of a torpedo that they fired, and that is our umbrella stand. It's little things like that. And it's like, the thing is harmless. It's basically just like a big metal thing. But it's so cool. And knowing what it is just makes it all the cooler.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope to inherit it one day, because that's definitely my cup of tea, that sort of thing.
Unbelievable. So apparently, we were looking at trying to find the history of this tiger. How on earth did the Tiger II get left there? Mm-hmm. And apparently, it was from one of the SS divisions that was there to sort of overlook the horrible concentration camp at Bergen. And they tried to run away, but ran out of petrol, is the theory. And the British were advancing on that area in 1945. So the crew just abandoned it. But the British didn't find it, and it just sank into the mud.
Wow. That is awesome.
And it just got spat out like 70 odd years later. There you go.
So we're now 10 minutes away from actually getting a match, 5 minutes away from getting the room. I
Yeah.
get what wargaming does. Basically, the time between the battles is the minimum amount of time, the maximum amount of time needed for a best of 7. So they count 7 games plus like 6 times 2 minutes in between. Because technically speaking, they could be right and all the games could last that long. That's hardly ever going to happen, but that is what they calculate with, basically.
Yes. You need to have that comfort blanket just to make sure.
Yeah. So for us, when it's a full 1, that basically means that we miss like multiple games of time in between. And since the games were very fast, it doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the downside.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to appreciate when it goes to a decider, it's not as long, this waiting period.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when the games are patiently built up rather than sort of chaotic rushes.
Yeah, totally. So when you've got best of 7 and you're playing 5 games, I mean, it doesn't seem so long then.
Yeah. And the next one is the best of 7 too, but as that is the last matchup for the day, that also means that once the matchup is over, the stream is over as well. So it doesn't matter in that way how long the matches last.
No, it doesn't. That's true. But
So,
yeah, I mean, we've done loads of crazy things like that. And as you were saying yesterday, you're in Nijmegen.
yeah.
I've done the Nijmegen March. I've done that.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
When?
Oh, when I was back in the army, used to jump out of aeroplanes for a laugh. It's been a good idea at the time. Every
Basically,
year they do
for
the
those that
Nijmegen
don't
March,
know, we have the Nijmegen Marches, which is basically 4 days where people respectively walk 30, 40, or 50 kilometers per day. There's basically, you have checkpoints and there's a sort of time. It's not like you have to walk fast, but basically everyone has to be in at X time. And the militaries all over the world join in with that as well. And the military people that walk also have to walk with their packs, basically. And those packs are weighed beforehand and they're weighed at the end. And if the pack is too light, you're basically disqualified. So it is pretty grueling. And you get a medal for it if you complete it. And there's a whole honoring ceremony at the military place where all the military people stay during the 4 days marches. And it's a really cool event because there's generally like around 45,000 people walking these marches. They basically sort of like release in bits and pieces, so that's not everyone at once. And during these times, Nijmegen, on the last day, Nijmegen basically has 1.5 million people there that don't live there. So it's basically extra people just there for all the celebrations, because while the 4-day marches are happening, you also have concerts and parties, and basically the whole city is one big party place. It is really cool.
Fantastic. It's fantastic.
And it's people from all over the world. There's generally like maybe 50 countries every year that participate. Like not last year, not this year. It's cancelled due to COVID last year and this year as well. They made the call rather early. But I think it is a good call because so many people from so many different countries so close together. Yeah, you shouldn't want that yet. But hopefully next year.
No, it's great fun. It's great fun. And again, if anybody does go over to that part of the world, go and check out. My pronunciation is going to be awful, so Aminette will correct me, no doubt. Go and check out Oosterbeek Museum. Because it's fantastic.
Yes. But there's also like, near Nijmegen is Groesbeek. And they have a very beautiful memorial there. And during the 4 days marches, the third day, people walk past that. And there's always a military ceremony there to remember all the people that lost their lives there. It's really cool.
It is. I mean, like I said, I've spent a lot of time in that part of the world back in the military days because we used to go there a lot. And you know, when I first went to Oosterbeek, like, really? It's just a house. It's unbelievable. It's you know, the guys defended this place for a long time, and it is just a house.
Yeah. But
it's
that's
crazy.
kind of the thing. When you know the story behind it, it just means a lot more.
Yeah, it does, and you know they've written on the doors and everything inside the house, and it's quite poignant. But it's really worth the trip to have a look at it. It really is.
I'll freely admit I haven't been there, so I kind of need to do that myself as well.
No, it really is worth it. It's not like your traditional museum, which is like, for example, Bovington or Münster, which is large and sprawling. Oysterbeek is really just about what was going on during Market Garden. It's a very, very lovely little museum and really poignant. Set in beautiful grounds as well. So
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. And probably has like that same quiet that you get like in cemeteries at times. It's not like oppressing quiet, but it's like a respectful, peaceful quiet. You know?
it is like that, and it's like I said, it's well worth the trip.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to check that out. Maybe tonight during challenges we should talk about Market Garden. Because there's a lot of things I don't know about it. I know some of the aftermath and everything. But this is like, I didn't... We moved here when I was 8 or 9. And it's something that I know about mainly with the movies and everything. But there's some cool stuff in Nijmegen. Like, for instance, during all the bombing and everything, Nijmegen was bombed as a mistake by the Allied forces. They kind of mistook Nijmegen for something else. And there's on the sidewalks, there are these little metal badges with a flame on it. And they're throughout the whole city, but they basically they mark the burn line.
Okay.
It's pretty cool because it's something like, if you do not know this, you have no idea what those little iron badges are for. But when you know it, that's basically all of the city center that was destroyed.
Oh no! I mean, it was a terrible battle, Market Garden.
Yeah. Oh, but I do kind of like that part of, well, not like it as in proof of it or anything, but I find it interesting to know what happened in all of that. In the meantime, though, we finally have a room. In 2 minutes, we get to see the second matchup of the day, the lower bracket finals. And it's ECG versus Durmon, and I really hope Durmon has regrouped.
We'll find out very, very, very soon.
Yeah. Oh, and we have ECG taking a grill here.
I've seen it happen on EU. That was with EG, and they had a 268 as well.
Oof.
And 2 grills.
That is very brutal then. But I imagine that was not in the final stages.
Oh, absolutely not. It was in the PYS, and as they capped the C cap very quickly, and then absolutely obliterated everybody who came to B.
No.
They sat on a ridge and just went, "Come on, then, let's go for it."
We see a mouse on both sides as well. Vickers, of course. It will be interesting to see what happens here. And if Durmon is the Durmon we've seen before or the Durmon we saw earlier today.
Well, it's a best of 7, so use your time wisely, guys. Don't just rush.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that just means that the team that reaches 4 victories first is the one that is through to tomorrow, and the team that loses is out of the tournament.
I mean, looking at the way of the meta selection, that is pretty traditional for this map. They've got a super heavy, they've got the E5s, got the IS4. that is pretty traditional for if you're going to go for an A and a B strat with the Vickers trying to get those spots in the desert.
Yeah, but it will be basically in this case. I'm mostly curious about what they're going to do with the grill.
Yeah. Well, they're spawning on the right side for the grill, and the chances are he's going to stay around that area, I would have thought.
The thing is, I always feel that if you take a CD on this map and you use it in that position, that also makes you rather predictable.
Mm-hmm. It does. There's no escaping that. And it looks like he is going to be hunkering down in that position with the hope that they're going to go to C.
And Durhamon is like, well, nope.
He will also be able to get... He will have to change position, but the grill will be able to get shots onto A, but not from the position he's in.
That was a blind shot into Seiya.
Unbelievable.
Well done. Very cheeky, but it worked.
Yeah, I mean, there was a blind shot hoping to get them crossing, which they're not doing. But really picked up Seiya there. I think he's as shocked as everybody else.
Yes.
I mean, that was a great blind shot.
Durhamon now has base A. Seiya is probably going to get spotted soon. Or maybe not by Rhine Fury. But they know where most of Durhamon will be at this stage.
Do, and this is where the danger now kicks in on this map. I mean, Durham's got to make the move.
There goes Seiya. Rhine Fury did find him.
Well, now Dur have got a problem. Because they've just lost their ability to spot from distance. They've got only two choices, push a flank or push B. You can see what ECG are doing. They've now moved the grill to an area to overlook the B cap. Anything comes into that B cap is going to get wrecked.
And they have JTFK basically there as a spotting and holding mechanism. Which is in this case, I think, is a good call. Because with the mouse, they can hold relatively long there. We see Durhamon moving around now. And they're going to probably... No, Genevieve actually just moved.
I think Dur need to consider one of two things here. They need to push into B and also push round a flank at the same time to try and split ECG. But it doesn't look like they're going to do that.
No, they look like they're going to just push Zhang Peng.
There goes the mouse. Being with a grill. 600 straight into the front of Renka.
Yeah, they are doing exactly what you thought they would, pushing and going for B straight away. Zhang Peng is probably going to be the sacrificial lamb, but it's costing them very, very dearly to go after him.
Yeah.
And it's basically putting all their eggs in the same little basket here. And that is also going to be very dangerous for them, because look at the amount of HP just disappearing from their team.
Now they're stuck. They're stuck in that rut, because once they break out of that rut, you've got two tanks from ECG, 4 tanks from ECG that can take it, but now they're taking the B cap. They got rid of the mouse.
Yeah. Rhine Fury.
Got the Rhine Fury, yeah, coming around the back of them.
Exactly.
So,
and there goes Dong Don Ikudon. And now basically ECG is just rounding up. To be fair, this is a much more coordinated Durhamon that we saw the previous matchup. So I'm actually hopeful. Only ECG just absorbed what they did very, very well.
I mean, they lost their Vickers very early, which really put them on the back foot because they lost their ability to spot from distance. And on this map, you need that spotter. And you can see Rhine Fury is still alive. I mean, so he was able to spot things coming round much earlier than Dur could.
And basically, ECG was spread out in such a coordinated way of support fire in the right direction. That made massive amounts of difference as well. And look at the difference in damage between the two teams as well.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, Dur were more coordinated, but again, they rushed a little bit. They had time on their hands. Normally, clans and teams wait till the 750 mark before they start pushing.
Yeah.
Because the danger being there, if you push too early, as you saw with the mouse, then you get into the B cap, everybody's resetting you, and it was only a slight difference in the advantage on the caps. There was a tank in about 5 minutes, 5 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, if they would have waited to the 750 around that mark, and this is why the clans wait for that time, it's difficult to then get the cap advantage by taking out the mouse.
Exactly. And in this case, they pushed, but they also didn't push through. It took them a very long time to take out Zhangpeng. Which,
That's the other thing, yeah.
for ECG, was perfect, because Zhangpeng pulled back into the ditch and made it difficult for them.
Totally, and it freed up some of the tanks from ECG to then all coordinate onto the B cap. Take out the mouse, cap the B cap, wait for them to come into the desert, and just put shots around the back of them. And that's exactly what ECG did.
Yeah. But I'm hopeful that we are at least having a more coordinated Durmon.
Oh yes, most definitely. It's a different Doom to what we saw last time.
And here we go. Will they continue to be that different Durmon that we prefer? Second match, here we go.
We've got quite a lot of change in the meta on ECG side.
Yeah.
With the
VK90.
TVPs.
No mouse, no grill. TVP.
The VK90 is not a bad choice if you're going to try and side scrape off those houses by the B cap. It's not a bad choice for that. It is a great side scraper.
And that is exactly where he's going.
And of
now,
course, it dishes out much better damage than the mouse.
Yeah. While it can hold almost as well, as long as you have that cover.
Yeah.
So we have Rhine Fury not in the exact same place that the blind shot in Steya happened. What base C is now being taken. JTFK has been spotted going there, but only Manko is there and he is retreating. And I kind of wonder if they're also going to go for an early B cap, because they might actually be able to.
Now, Dur need to make a choice again. I mean, they've got the cap advantage, and they don't want to be tempted now and get blinded by going for kills. They need to just protect that B cap at the moment. They know that there's a VK90 there. They know they've got heavies that are at the A cap.
The thing is, though, in this case, ECG is at a disadvantage in points, so they are going to have to make a choice at some point to either rush or go B.
And at the moment, got Huki here, not in a great position, to be fair. Now he's getting into a better position, and JTFK is thinking about it.
Yeah, and they're doing some blind shots.
There he goes.
Yeah.
The reason he's doing that is because he knows from his own Vickers of Rhine Fury that Dur have stacked some tanks up on the flank, not overlooking the B cap.
He does get reset, but it's giving away a lot of. It's giving them a lot of information about where Durmon is. So even if he doesn't get the cap, this might work out very well for them. And JTFK is still holding, taking little damage for it. But it's definitely caused a reaction in Durmon. And that is probably exactly what they were going for.
As you can see there, all Dur can do is keep resetting it with HE.
Yeah.
Not doing significant damage to him.
But now we have no FPS arriving at the scene.
Look what ECG are doing. They're stacking their tanks down on the flank now. And they're going to bring some tanks in, not to go into B, but to cover B.
Yeah, and now JTFK is now in trouble. ECG has
Because
to respond and help one another.
He's in trouble as well. Now we've got a double move here by ECG, flanking and coming into the middle area. They need to get rid of that tank of the IS-4 of Huki, the one hit point. Renka being very aggressive.
This is something, to be fair, I do not quite understand from ECG, because they could have sort of like absorbed Duramon as they went into B, but right now they've lost all 3 caps.
They have, and now they're going to lose Coke Bottle as well. And Renka's aggression was paid off.
Yeah. And Huki is still alive, if barely, but even if he dies, it doesn't matter at this stage. Because they have 2 bases, as long as the rest of them survives, they should potentially have this.
900 points, so...
Yeah, Chenyev now preferred target. He is the one that is being focused right now. He's not going to live long, and that might just seal the deal. Base A is still protected. They're not going to be able to drive into that. Nor have PS needs to survive. And he's doing that. He's not being taken out, and there we go. Duramon grabs the match.
Yeah, I don't understand why ECG never tried to sort of put the cross shots in. They had 2 E5s there overlooking the VK.
Yeah.
The VK was being pushed by an IS-4 and an E5. I don't know why they weren't trying to get those cross shots in. And you can see it hurt them because they lost their 2 E5s and the VK.
I expected ECG to sort of dig down into the town and just absorb Duramon as they came at the VK, but instead they sort of like ran away.
Yeah, they kind of did. That was much better from Much better from Durr.
Glad to see them
coordinated.
back a bit in their old shape, so to speak.
A lot more coordinated.
And now we
Much
get to
better
go to
focus
New
fire.
Bay. And look at the amount of mice that ECG is taking.
Oh dear.
I'm always, basically, aside from Kranwagens and E5s, it's always dangerous to take more than 2 of the same tank, because you're also taking all the weaknesses of that tank into the battle.
You are. On the other side, I mean, with 2 mouses and a shed load of IS-4s.
And to be fair, that can work. I mean, I have seen E7 have a serious battle on New Bay with 7 IS-4s and winning.
Yeah.
Because for the map,
But
the
you
IS-4 can work really well. And let's see, countdown clock is there. We're going to go into the 3rd match of this best of 7. No real pressure on any team just yet. A little bit of white noise from Fujit.
Yeah, that's the what's it called? That's the motorway.
Yeah.
Which is a long way away.
Bless you.
It is a long way away, funnily enough.
I remember that back at my old place. We have this big field where there's lots of festivals. And depending on literally which way the wind blows, we could basically listen to all the music, or we could hear absolutely nothing.
It's basically the same here, yeah. You either get the motorway or you get nothing. It's neither. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
No middle ground.
Both teams pretty much going into town to their respective closest bases, which makes sense because none of them have an actual medium. And we have Duramon not going for the cap. They're going straight in for the push.
That was good play. Yeah, but that was good play by Durr. They avoided the cap with their IS-4s, not giving it away just yet, and letting the mouses cap it, which is not a bad idea. Trying to get those positionings into that park area where they can now put pressure on anybody pushing in from them.
Yeah, but that is exactly what ECG is currently doing. They're pushing against the push.
Yeah, and interestingly, I mean, ECG do have the advantage. Now it's going to degenerate into a brawl.
It's going to be an interesting brawl, let's put it that way.
There's going to be about 3-4 individual battles going on here.
Yes. Ryan Fury, in this case, is being focused. He's not going to live for long. There he goes. And that gives a gun advantage to Duramon here.
Base advantage as well.
Yeah. And there we go. HP-wise, it's going up pretty evenly, so it will be about the focus fire. But in this case, this is one of those most important parts where you should say, do not focus the mouse. Especially in a brawl like this.
Kenbayu's about to go. There he goes.
He got hugged to death. Blue's
Ranger,
yellow.
bless him. He's not going to last.
No. And ECG might still turn this around because it almost looks like there's an advantage going on for Duramon. But it is going up pretty evenly. Now there's like a 2k HP difference. But that's mainly mouse.
Yeah. He needs to use his mouse and block the shots coming in from Chenth in that E5 because Chenth is getting free farming onto that IS4 of Don Don.
Yeah. And it's sort of like they're now realizing, oh shit, we actually need to coordinate together.
Yeah, but they haven't. And the mouses have been... They look like they've been effectively used by Dir, but they haven't because it's the IS4s that are the danger to ECG, not the mouses.
Yeah.
And the IS4s are now out of the game. And, you know, the mouses now, okay, it's a 215B and a mouse against two mouses. They need to get rid of the 215B if they're going to stand a chance.
Yeah, they're
doing
going
that,
to do
so
that.
That's not bad.
And they're focusing Seiya, which makes sense because he's sort of like sandwiched in between them. But Ayanami-chan is going to be gone at the next reload. Bless you.
Thank you.
And
I mean, Huki needs to take him down now.
yeah.
He's struggling with that gun depression on the mouse, or lack of, and
But
there he goes.
But that being said,
Now, yeah, go on. You've got to say it.
yeah, Zhang Fang is still full HP. If he takes out
Yeah.
Seiya in this reload, which he does, and then manages to turn his tank around in a way, there's a lot of mouse corpses here that will work to both their advantage. But ECG has the cap advantage. Huki could potentially pull back and stand in that base for just a split second, and I think that is what Zhang Peng is preparing for.
Huki hasn't thought about that just yet.
No. We have. But Huki is focusing on the HP part, sorry. But in this case, if he just stands in base C for a little bit, they will get that advantage. Zhang Peng has the HP advantage.
Zheng Peng, you're right. He's anticipating that, and he's going to stop him. Look, and that's exactly the right move to make.
Very well played by ECG here, because they knew that this was going to happen, and actually Huki didn't think of this in time.
That could be experience, to be honest with you. But that could be a lack of experience. But now ECG have got this, realistically. Yeah. I mean, Zheng Peng has got too many hit points. Oh, well, that's a bounce. He didn't want that, though.
No, but in this case, it doesn't matter. He just needs to occupy him a little bit more, and he's going to bounce as well, yeah, as you can see. Because they are nice.
Huki needed to land that shot, to be fair. Oh, Zheng Peng misses it. It bounces again.
Yeah, but this thing, now Huki is even shooting too fast, not taking the time for his shot, which he kind of had to do here.
Zheng Peng's not going to push him. If he's clever, he's not going to push him.
He only needs to stay here. I mean,
and that's a great shot.
I think in this case, it's more like it would be great for ECG if they get this kill in. They do not need to. All they need to do is keep him out of that base C. And in this case, Huki could have still done damage to ECG by just driving into base C with him. It's just, this is pretty much pure inexperience that is costing Dermont the game here.
And I think it boils down to that. I think it is just inexperience.
And he's playing well, but he's not playing Supremacy. And there he
No,
goes.
that's the point. And you know, I mean, Zhang Peng was given the opportunity to put himself into the CCAP. He anticipated it, and there's probably more experience at play there.
But man of the match, Zhang Peng, very well played.
Yeah, 6.3k in damage as well. I mean, that's very good. Although saying that, I mean, Huki has got more battles under his belt than Zhang Peng.
Yeah, but maybe not in Supremacy. You don't actually see that. But like, I have clanmate Kasu Grumbly, who is totally OP in anything he tries. He hates Supremacy. He won't touch it. And that is kind of the thing. Like, when you play these kind of tournaments, you have to have the Supremacy mentality at least. Even if you do not like playing it, you have to be aware of how it works with the points and everything. In this case, if Huki, I mean, he lost now by being killed, but at any point he could have driven into base C and just stood there for a few seconds and they would have had the point advantage.
Yes, totally. And then it would have been tables are turned. That's right. It would have been Zhang Peng having to push onto Huki, and it would have been a completely different scenario.
Yeah. And there would have been more stress, and Zhang Peng would have been less calm, and it might have had a total different effect as well. But definitely very well played by ACG, especially Zhang Peng, with basically the big brain move of just going into that base.
Which won them the match after the numerous brawls that were ongoing in the park area.
Yeah. I like clever gameplay like that. And now we see the AMX 50Bs and AT22 breaking out on Dermont's side. Which for Nube, yes, it can definitely work, but it is a peculiar choice. Because they are so juicy.
Oh, yes.
And here we go. Still 4 mice in this game. And I kind of wonder I think they're going to go after base A this time, mainly because they probably feel like that is what lost them the game. Not having the mobility to take base A.
It looks like ECG are just going to do almost the same strat they did last time. In reverse, although they may send Iron Army Chan down to the A cap. I don't know yet. No. Oh no, they're not. They are all coming down to the ramps apart from Chen.
I think they're hoping to get some people unawares.
No, they're going down the heavy route into that. Yeah, okay.
The Kranenwakens have been spotted. Ayanami-chan managing to not get hit there. But that is a tricky position to be in. And now
he's going to drop into the B cap.
Yeah. Now people are getting spotted. The mice are facing off with the mice, but losing HP as they do so because the Kranenwagens are at their back.
Positioning here by Durr. Anchoring in the mice of JTFK here.
Yeah, this is well positioned by Durr. Just staying there, staying alive, wiggling, letting them push, letting their Kranenwagens get some big shots in as well. And
we
now
just need those 50Bs to put onto the Rhine Fury if they can. They can, if they coordinate, they can either clip out Rhine Fury or Chenth.
And now we have... This is something I do not understand. The Kranenwagens are being pushed by 3 tanks and they do not focus fire. Renka-chan moving in. Going to probably take out JTFK, and he does.
Yeah, and like the Durr have made a good move onto Chen. That was the right move. Take him out rather than the IS-4. That is a very good move indeed. The 50B is not landing all their shots, but it's not to worry. They've got the T-22 there.
They've got 2 bases now as well. Renka is not going to survive this. There he goes.
They've still got the advantage with the guns on the battlefield and with the 50Bs. If they can load up, they can now focus on Rhine Fury. Bottle is coming in to try and help out, I think.
I am surprised though at they're not really helping each other. Durmon, that is. They're shooting different targets. Zhangpeng. Huki is still alive. Zhangpeng might... Yeah, there he goes. This should
Manko
be...
bouncing on Rhyme Fury in the final shot there.
Yeah. Durmon should definitely have this with 2 bases and a 3-gun advantage. Even if 1 or more tanks still die, they should still have this. If they focus fire, which is exactly what they're doing now. There goes Coke Bottle. And now K4 is the only one left.
Yeah.
And there he goes on the flying turret.
Much better Bomber. Better positioning, better movement, better focus fire.
Yeah.
Much better gameplay by them. Much better.
Absolutely. It's almost... Well, it's not almost. It's a relief to see them play at their level again. This is not the Durmon that we saw the first matchup.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And as you can see, when they can do things like that, they can put pressure onto the other team. And they put a lot of pressure there onto ECG, forcing ECG to make the mistakes, and then punishing ECG for those mistakes. And that's exactly what you would expect at this level.
Exactly. We're now moving to Black Goldfield. Different maps, different lineup appearance again. That is a ballsy move, to be honest, because on this map, it's one of the... or it can work out against you.
Yes.
So we'll fully depend on what they do with that. Durmon taking a bit more mobility with the T22 and the Vickers both. I would kind of expect base A and B action with this lineup. Again, you never know because they can go anywhere. But that's where they would have the advantage, tank-wise at least.
Mm-hmm.
They start on the north spawn, so base B might be a little bit tricky for them. But yeah, we'll just have to see what they do, really. Again, no real pressure. It's only after this game that the pressure is on. And here we go into the 5th match of this best of 7. And let's see. I remember that when the legendary camouflage came out for the grill, I mainly got it for the name. I didn't even really like it. I wasn't into buying legendary camos yet. But the fact that it was named Troublemaker meant I had to get it. So we have ECG focusing on the base C side. Saya going towards base A. Coke and Zhang heading towards base B. And early spots are happening. Base A is being capped. That will give them a bit of an early point advantage. But Manko has to be careful in the Vickers to not get shot up very quickly there.
Now, good positioning. They've got the cap advantage. You just got to make sure that these E5s don't flank around and take out Manko in that Vickers.
Yeah.
He's in a good position. So if that IS-4 of Coke Bottle tries to get into that B cap, he will have the reset. He's a little bit far forward. He should be just a little bit back normally.
Mm-hmm.
Because to get the reset, he's got to have to move. And the worst thing is, I mean, thankfully the E5s are rotating back to their spawn.
But it will still be up to ECG to make a move here because Durmon has the point advantage here. And in this case, I also feel position advantage.
And they put themselves into some good spots here, to be fair, have. Limiting the choices that that ECG have.
Chanyev losing a little bit of HP, so does Renka. Manko is actually in a position where he's going to spot anyone coming towards base A, which is a good thing because that will give their team early warning as to what they need to do.
Yes, and because they're under the capid, because they haven't got the cap advantage here, ECG. Unfortunately, Iron Army Chan is now sort of pretty much obsolete until something happens.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have had the advantage, then Iron Army Chan would have had a lot more of an active role to play as we're going to push down one of the flanks or into the B cap. But Dur don't need to do that.
That was a very cheeky shot from Rhyme Fury into Renka. And Renka turning around actually meant that Zhengpeng got a shot in as well.
Yeah. The reason why the E5s are going to deal with the Vickers. Which is a good thing to do, because now, there you go. Boom, gone.
That is the end of him.
That was the right thing to do. Now,
But now...
Bottle is going to drop in, and as you can see, Huki has to move to get that reset.
Yeah, but he doesn't even really need to do that, because with them getting base C, base B is now being abandoned, base A is more or less being rushed. They could just go in to take out Coke Bottle, and I think that's exactly what they're doing now.
And they are, and here comes the scratching of the head moment. What is Iron Army Chan doing? He should be overlooking the B cap.
Yeah, and he's not doing that.
Isolated and gone. No point that Grill following the E5A. No point.
And now basically there's a 2-gun advantage for oof. My tanks just went into the ground and everything.
The packet in the ping is woo.
Yeah, there we go. I had flying tanks and suddenly stuff happened. They're still going into the ground, so it's still not normal. I have a 50% package loss. That is generally not a good thing. And my internet's being derpy again as well. People are disappearing left and right. But at 955 points, it is very likely that this will be Durmon's game. Unless very strange things happen.
Dur have got this.
There we go.
And again, Iron Army Chan, I have to question what you were doing in the grill, my friend.
Not being grill in any case.
I mean, he dished out some damage, but when Coke Bottle pushed him to B, I would have expected the grill to be covering his backside.
Yeah. Damage-wise, there wasn't even that much damage being done here, but it's mainly the play with the bases here that made all the difference.
It's at least we're seeing a different Dur.
Yeah, that is very true. In this case, we're wondering at ECG a little bit. And now the pressure is on ECG, because if they lose the next match, then they're out, and that means that Durmon is back into the grand finals.
Yeah.
So let's see. Second game on Black Goldfield, anything can still happen, but the pressure is there. And the grill has been left behind, which I think is a very good call.
Yeah, not going to disagree with that.
So let's see. I think overall these lines are pretty meta. T22 Vickers on both sides, some IS4s, some E5s, bit of Kranwagen. But let's see if they can continue this, because Durmon is looking to be quite strong here. That might be map advantage as well. Like this is more
be. I mean, this could be one of their favourable maps. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see. Into the 6th battle of this best of 7 and potentially the last game we go.
Oh yeah, do you have match point here?
Dun 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 dun. I do also wonder at the communication part, really, with the first matchup. This was This is such a different Duramon. And now we have a bit of A, a bit of B, a bit of C going on pretty much all sides. And we have a lone T22 in the caves. But he has to be careful not to move in. Ayanami has lost a little bit of HP there. And is now getting out of there. But look
They're
at
not
this.
rushing this time, which is good.
Yeah.
They're just taking it calmly. They've put their tanks in the traditional spots, the E5s, the haul down position overlooking that flank from the A spot. T22 trying to get the spots. Well, you'd normally stick a Vickers or a Crown Wagon there, but they haven't got one, so it's a good idea to stick that there.
But this is interesting because base A seems uncontested, but I'm pretty sure that if Rhino Fury were to actually go in there, he might lose a lot of HP very quickly. He kind of has to give it a go, though. And there we go. Blue's yellow has been spotted there.
However, Durr do have the advantage.
Yeah, so they can't not cap it,
Okay,
but at the same time,
exactly.
it might be expensive to do so. But they're actually pulling back. I think they feel they have
Durr-
enough of a point advantage already.
Yeah, I mean, Durr are going to let them take A, hoping that they're either going to push round that side, or push onto C, or push into B. The E5s are not going to jostle out of position just yet. They're going to stay where they are, just in case that flank goes. Vickers desperately trying to get spots now. Vuki is poised in a great position to reset B if Zhang Pen tries to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them are just covering the C cap. It's good positioning by Durr. They've got all the bases covered, basically.
Yeah, and ECG will have to take action at some point to force a change. But with the way that Dur is dug in now, that will be very difficult because everyone can easily support everyone.
Mm-hmm. You can see
Especially
here,
with
ECG
speakers.
are not going for the flank, they're going for the C cap flank instead.
Yeah, and K4 getting spotted there is also time. The thing is that Seiya is in a great position to see anyone coming for C, and I think that means that anyone left at B, because they can't move Zhang Peng out of there, will lose
They
a lot of
can't.
HP.
This is the thing. I mean, the timing now becomes everything for ECG. They've, had Seiya not been there, then ECG would have been able to get their He5s and T22 down towards that C cap without being spotted.
Mm-hmm.
They will be spotted by Seiya, and then Zheng Peng would be able to push into the B cap and try and sort of force Dur's hand. But because Dur have positioned themselves in such a way, that's not going to be easy. Because as you can see, the E5s and the T22 will be spotted by Seiya.
And JTFK is losing a lot of HP in the crossover. Base A is now being taken, which is a good call because Duramon is basically like, even if you go after base C, we will still have base A. Base B is being pushed now by Zhang, which they kind of have to as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why it's not being reset.
No, because Luke is now looking in the opposite direction when he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be looking in the opposite direction. That's not his role. That's not his job.
And with that shot
now
missing...
it's too late.
Yeah.
Now Renka's had to move in, which is not part of the game plan.
Exactly. And we see action going on around base C. They're taking base C back. Or rather... No, they are taking base C back. But they're also going after JTFK. Renka is losing quite a bit of HP very quickly. They will have to focus fire. This was not part of Duramon's game plan.
They should not have allowed the B cap to have been taken. That's what's put them now into this panic mode.
But I think that's also, again, perhaps just lack of experience for Hookie.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't looking in the right direction.
No, he wasn't.
So now base A has been taken back. Base C is being taken back. Base B is being contested. Renka is not looking healthy at all. Has been taken out. It is pure chaos, but in this case, it looks to be pure chaos in ECG's favor.
And again, not being unduly harsh, Huki shouldn't be where he is now. He should not be there. He failed to set his position on that down there is to do one job and one job only and reset B. The thing to do that is really put dirt on the back foot, and ECG have just had a whale of a time here.
Yeah, now they just need to clean up, and they don't even really need to do that because they have the basis. As long as they just survive, they've got it. And there we go.
It shouldn't have been an ECG win.
Yeah. And that all had to do with that one decapping of base B that did not happen.
And this is what I try to explain to people in tournaments. It's not about doing the damage or getting the kills. It's doing your job. The job that you're assigned to do is vital.
Yeah.
And when you're put in a position, and the position that Huki was in was to oversee the B cap, and if anything happens, to reset it. He got distracted by them pushing into C. He turned his gun, and ECG did the right thing. They pushed C and jumped into B at the same time. And that is inexperience, I would argue. I would argue that is inexperience.
And it's kind of sad because they can do more. It's just not working out for them right now. And that will come with time. At the same time, as a streamer, I'm happy that we're getting a tiebreaker.
I mean, again, for those watching, these are only little mistakes, but little mistakes at this level of a tournament are huge. They're massive.
They basically start that domino effect, because that is what you saw here. With base B not being reset, Renka had to go in. Renka lost his life because of that, which meant that Duramon had to push into base C. There were a few bot shot at JTFK there as well. So that was kind of like, it's a domino effect. But it started with the base not being decapped.
Yeah, because that meant Renka then had to jump in. He didn't want to jump in. That wasn't his job. And then Huki left his position to try and get the kills round at the C cap, which again wasn't his job, didn't need to do that. And you then have forced error upon forced error upon forced error.
So it starts with something really small, but it ends with losing the game.
Totally, yeah. And now Dur have gone from match point to, damn, the pressure's on us again now.
Yeah, because after this match, regardless of who wins, it's over. But now the pressure is on both of them. And to be fair, with the way that they've been playing, I honestly do not know who's going to take it home here. There's no team significantly stronger than the rest. I think it will mainly depend on who makes the first mistake. And we have a Vickers at base A, who's going to be meeting an E5 and a Kranwagen. No, but he seems to be getting away with it, with his life.
And on the beach he goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Base A is completely uncontested, and JTFK is going to drop into it by looks on it. He's attentive because he doesn't know, but he will drop into it eventually.
Yeah, he did get spotted, and there is the Vickers that's going to try and HE him, or maybe just like real shoot him. They are blind shotting that bush where he's at, so they know, especially now that he's spotted, that Menko is there. But getting this base is important. Ooh, that shot missing.
And he's gonna get it. And
there
he
we
gets
go.
it.
But now we have Duramon pushing on the other side, because there's a big tank advantage for them there. And they're basically moving as a cluster, minus the Vickers. We have K4 moving in, no idea why. Because they don't have an advantage.
ECG are going to play this wisely. If they can take out blue and not have PS, and they should be able to, they have got the advantage there. They can put massive pressure because didn't cap D.
Yeah. And now Ryan Fury has been taken out. Blue's Yellow has been taken out. it will be about the focus fire and positioning of the tanks. Seiya is all the way across the map, so that's not going to help them much either. The Vickers is arriving, getting some shots in as well. Basically, it's focus fire.
And they need to get PS. Focus should be on PS now. That should be the call. Forget Iron Army Chan, you've lost him. Not have PS out of the game, ECG, and that's good. Now, Seiya, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Don Don has to be taken out as well. This could still go every which way, to be honest, but it's leaning in favor of ECG here.
They've got to take Don Don out if they want to have that favour remaining, because JTFK will go first, and now that doesn't help them.
No, there's too many guns left for Duramon. But the HP pool is still like double for ECG.
I mean, again, little mistakes. Why did Seiya push all the way up to the back there? I get there's a tank there, but you're the T-22. You should have dropped into that cap and then moved up to it.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, it's the little things here. It is 3 versus 3 here. Seiya is capping now, but basically he's a one-shot. Chanyev is pulling back a little bit. They want the Vickers as well.
Well, Manco's an easy target because he's the dangerous target at the moment. Firstly, he's paper thin. And secondly, he's got one heck of a DPM. So they should be looking at... Jen's doing the right thing. He's keeping Renka occupied while Coke Bottle is trying to get Manka. That's a good shot in.
And now the Kranwagen has fully reloaded. Chenyev now showing his side to Renka is dangerous as well, because there's still a shot in there.
There is.
It is a very slow-going game. It could still be everyone's game, to be honest. And now Coke Bottle, oof, that bounce is very telling as well. They need to take out Renka. They need to focus him now. And K4 is not even acknowledging the fact that he's getting shot from behind by the Vickers.
It wasn't. Now they need to get rid of that P-22.
Yeah. Or go for the bases. They have the speakers.
Chen is going for D.
And that is very important as well. Because as long as Coke Bottle... Yeah, in this case, I would actually send Coke Bottle to base B. And that would make the most sense. Dominate the bases, force them into reaction.
Chen is going to go for C by looks on it.
Yeah, but I think Coke Bottle is heading towards base B. Not necessarily to cap it, but maybe to catch anyone going up.
Well, he knows that they're there because he's been spotted.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that Coke Bottle's got to do is make sure that Chen stays alive.
Yeah. And now ECG is turning the game into their favor. Coke Bottle is looking in the wrong direction, but will still cap the base, and that will give them 3 bases. We have Deux now splitting up. Manco has been spotted. But at this stage they can't really do much unless they just magically manage to hit every shot.
It's all over. ECG have got it.
Yeah.
He's going to go now. He's going to go down. Simple as that.
But even then,
there you go.
He still gets killed, but it wasn't even needed. ECG had this. Very clever claim play by ECG, forcing the bases at the end to force the hand of Duramon.
I think if I'm going to be honest, Duramon threw that away in the last game on Black Goldville.
Yeah.
And they had that game, that was their game, and they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, as one would say.
Exactly. And in this case, ECG definitely played well, like all these matches and all of that. And Duramon, I mean, this was 100% better than the first matchup by Duramon. But it was still those mistakes. The mistakes with the mouse with base C, the mistake with the decapping of base B, And in this case, just spreading their tanks out too far during a push. It just, all of it together, it starts with little small things. And ECG capitalized on those mistakes to turn the game around to their favor.
As we say, I mean, those small mistakes, they all add up to make one really big mistake that eventually cost the game.
And that means,
you know, this is the thing about tournaments.
Tomorrow, that means we see not quite E7 versus Team ECS. So that's going to be great fun as well. That's, I believe, a best of 9, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's best of 9.
So I will be streaming that. You will be streaming the pros, and let's have a look who you are going to be streaming. You're going to stream ID versus E7. Feast has been knocked out.
There you go.
Let's see.
Also, Feast again, failing to get into that final stage.
With a 4-2. But
at presently, Feast, they just struggle to get that over that final hurdle.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we talked about. There's a few teams on the EU that have the same thing. Like, they do fantastically, and then right when you have to make it all come together, it's sort of like it collapses under the pressure.
Yeah, it's bizarre because they play beautiful stuff coming up, and then it goes a bit weird.
Yeah. But for now, this is it for us. We will be back to stream EU challenges tonight. And that will be on my channel. And then in the middle of the night, we will be streaming the NA Professionals on Fudge's channel. So those are the next two streams lined up. And tomorrow it will be Challenges Asia Finals for me and Professionals Asia Finals on Fudge's channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Fudge, definitely do that, because for me it's an absolute pleasure to commentate with him, but watching his streams is just as enjoyable. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all tonight for EU.
Totally.
Bye bye.
Until then, cheerio.